Joining us now in Studio B, good friend of the program, Tim Lacoomb. And I couldn't help but notice, Tim, you brought in some swag from the BYU basketball offices. What is this all about?
Well, you guys have been hounding me about those shirts we wore in Maui, right?
Uh-huh.
And we're going back to Hawaii. Hopefully we have a better, showing over there. So I thought we'd get a little karma. I brought you these, the 3 Hawaiian BYU basketball shirts that maybe you guys can sport while we're over there.
Oh, absolutely.
So those were the 3 that I actually wore, and you might need to send them to at least get them pressed. They're clean.
Worn by Coach Lacoomb.
Game worn. I don't know if that devalues it or not, but
it definitely increases the value.
They're there for you guys.
Are you kidding me? Devalue? No, this is perfect. Now I have my wardrobe picked out over the holidays.
All right, there you go, buddy.
As we cover BYU basketball.
That's just one little section. I'm getting rid of a bunch of stuff in my closet. So
how often do you have to get rid of stuff in your wardrobe?
It's crazy. My wife actually laughs at me because she said I'm like Fred Flintstone or the Peanuts characters. Everything's the same. They wear the same thing every day. So it's BYU. Like my entire closet is blue, white, gray, and black. So I got all that stuff. So I don't know. Maybe somebody out there looking for something in a large, maybe they can tweet me and I'll meet them on the corner somewhere.
Right here.
All right,
I'm right here.
All right, man. You got plenty yourself, I'm sure.
I used to be an XL, but after football, you stop lifting.
That's right.
Quickly become a large. So
BYU basketball assistant coach Tim Lacoomb with us in Studio B, brought the Hawaiian shirts, which we will take very good care of, my friend.
All right, man. Good.
I promise. We will put
karma.
those to good
I'm looking
use.
for karma.
Yes.
That's what I'm looking for.
Of course you're going to get it right now. In fact, let's just give it to you for the approaching season. BYU Sports Nation karma given out to Tim Lacoomb officially.
I love it.
Soak it in. Exhibition game.
Bring it in. You guys need like gold dust to drop out of the sky or something.
That's something that we can bring to the
that
studio.
That would be great. Exactly.
Yeah, we can make some improvements here. I have to ask about this. I saw you tweet out that CNBC has become part of your pregame routine, and you give Kyle Davis credit for that. What is that all about?
Kyle Davis is so into politics. And so, like, every single day, he's a big Rand Paul guy, which we give him a hard time about. Because he's way down in the polls. But I'm fascinated by it. It drives my family crazy because I watch, that's kind of my downtime stuff is I watch all this politics. I love to hear what Trump says next. And I don't know, I'm fascinated by the whole process. So the other night before Cougar tip-off, I got into the coach's lounge a little early, flipped on the debate, and waited for our time to go out there and watch a little bit of the debate. It was pretty interesting. So I don't know. That's just a topic that kind of is big with our team. So they've got me kind of sucked into it.
Are you our political analyst then officially on BYU Sports Nation?
Oh, no. I guess the two things you don't discuss are politics and religion, but I think I'm just fascinated by the process right now.
You can always go with Chase Fisher's approach of his top 3 priorities are God, guns, and America.
Yeah, I'll let him get out there on a limb. I do a pretty good job of just, staying neutral.
Are you a political guy, Michael, Elisa?
I do follow. I'm actually independent.
Yeah.
Gotta win my vote. That's all I'm saying.
Spoken like a true BYU football player.
Candidate, not the party. That's
right.
Good stuff.
The independence spreads across. Okay, let's talk about actual basketball now, Tim. You played Friday's game against Arizona Christian without 4 really key contributors. No Kyle Collinsworth, no Chase Fisher, no Corbin Kaufusi, no Jordan Chapman. What did you learn in a game in a unique situation like that?
Well, obviously you wouldn't choose that scenario, especially early in the year. I think the one advantage for us is that we had Spain, so we had been together and played 4 games already. And at halftime of that game, obviously there was no like, hey, we're gonna put those guys back in, and get control of this thing. I think the advantage of that game was that these young kids, many of which, at one point we had 5 guys out there. Coach was saying like, okay, Nick was in Germany last year. Nate was on the bench cheering. Kyle Davis was on the bench in street clothes because he transferred. Jamal, was a transfer guy.
He was injured too.
And was injured, and so really at times all 5 guys out there didn't even play last year for us. So it was a challenge, but I think what was exciting is that the way the guys responded, and the old adage, there isn't really any substitute for experience. There was nowhere for those guys to turn. They had to look at each other, the guys that were available to play, and figure out a way to go out there and and kind of make the corrections on the fly. And they did that, and it was exciting. And I think that we saw a lot of good things. The cool thing about it is we had, 40 minutes worth of film with people in the stands and refs and things we could really evaluate. This time of year gets difficult because we play each other for about 5 straight weeks, and the looks we get in practice are against ourselves. And so to be able to have a scouting report in place, to be able to actually have a film to evaluate and kind of grade out was really, really beneficial. And for those guys who needed all that experience, they certainly got a lot.
What do you take away in terms of with those young guys or guys that have never been on the floor? How much can you base on how you train them on what you see in a game in an exhibition format?
I think a lot. The one thing we try to do in our exhibition games is we try to go out and, Arizona Christian had 4 returning starters. They're picked to be, I think, 4th in the NAI in the country. They're preseason number 4. So while obviously not as talented as perhaps a Division I team, they certainly gave us some unique challenges with the way they attack, the way they press. And like I said, just to be able to put a scouting report in and have your guys have to understand that we're closing to a certain guy this way and another guy this way. We're going to play ball screens on a guy this way, and be able to have that, those parameters in there for him to have to function with, and then to be able to take all the stuff we'd been working on and evaluate how good we did in certain areas. I think that's the value you take out of those exhibition games.
I know that Michael, he brought up a great point in our pre-show meeting about losing Tyler Hawes and what BYU goes from here. And so because it's a great question, I'm going to let him ask because it's his intelligence. But Mike, go ahead and ask Tim.
I just wanted to know. So we had Jimmer Fredette, then we had Tyler Hawes. Great scorers. Who do you think is going to be the next big scorer at BYU?
Well, I think it's interesting. I've been here 8 years, going on my 9th year, and my first year here, it was kind of, we had Trent Playstead and Lee Camard and Jonathan Tavanari and that group. Sam Burgess, Ben Murdoch. And when Lee, he was the player of the year that year in our league. And then he graduated, and everybody was like, where do you go from here? I think the beauty of our system is that it's set up to where the way we play and the reps that we get on any given night, it's for someone to step up. I mean, Jimmer Fredette, my first year was a freshman who didn't start a game, right? And ended up 4 years later being the National Consensus Player of the Year. So I think the exciting thing about that is that the way we play is that at any given night, and I think the way this team is built, maybe last year where Ty, and Kyle were kind of the focal points, and Chase was a guy who was a spacing guy that made shots. I think it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that we play 5 games and we have 5 different guys lead us in scoring in a certain stretch. And I think that's what's exciting about this team is the depth and the ability of a lot of different guys to make a contribution.
You brought up Jimmer Fredette's national accolades, and same with Tyler Hawes went that route. Now all the rankings and preseason award watch lists are coming out. How do you digest that with Kyle Collinsworth, Chase Fisher, even Nick Emery? Do coaches pay attention to that?
Well, you see everything now because so much has changed.
It's hard not to see
right.
it.
I mean, in 15 or 16 years of being in this business, so much has changed with the way that information is put out there. I think, first of all, you look at it as a real compliment that the guys in your program are well thought of, but that's why we recruited them. And that's, feels really good that these are guys that we've had, like Kyle, for instance, we had in our program for 4 years. And I think that it's so great that he's getting the national recognition that he totally deserves. I mean, what he did last year around here kind of became commonplace. Oh, he just got another triple-double.
It was absurd.
Yeah, it was absurd. And in the history of college basketball, it was absurd. And I think the thing that we try to do is we try to make the team the most important thing. And our players are so good at adopting that as well. I think so. You enjoy and you really appreciate the accolades your guys get. But the great thing about college basketball is at the end of the year, everything's earned. you will be where you should be. You have an opportunity through the slate of non-conference, conference, postseason play to get yourselves in a position, both as a team and as an individual, to the places you want to go. Obviously, I would love nothing more than all of our guys to be able to be recognized, because I think they're terrific players and terrific people. But I think you take everything with a grain of salt, saying, okay, these are people's opinion, but then you can conversely say there's a lot of people out there that, don't think that we're going to be that great. So the opportunity we have to play games and go out and earn what we get is really kind of what we focus on.
What is the definitive next step for BYU basketball right now in terms of becoming that much more nationally relevant?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I think, again, this around here, Coach Rose has made, going to the NCAA tournament and winning 20 games a year like rolling out of bed. I mean, it wasn't always like that, at BYU. And there were stretches where it was like that. But what he's done here has really been kind of historic. And so really, I think the next step, and what we talk about as a program is we talk about the same things every year. We try to plan on winning every game we play. I mean, that's the goal. Every game you go out there, you want to win. If you do that, you have an opportunity to win a conference championship and be selected to the NCAA tournament, which 64 out of 351 teams go. And then getting to that tournament and getting the opportunity to advance. That's kind of the next step, right? Is the years that, everybody talks about around here, the Danny Ainge years to the Elite Eight and Jimmer's year to the Sweet 16. And so that's what we want to do. We want to continue to advance. And in order to do that, we've got to have a great non-conference slate, and win those games. We've got to get in our conference, we've got to try to, do our best to win a conference tournament, conference championship, conference tournament championship, and get to the NCAA tournament and then advance in that tournament.
The always important RPI factors in. And while I'm looking at these Hawaiian shirts, let's talk about what is going to happen there over the holidays. You open up against Harvard, good team. They've put together some nice runs in the NCAA tournament recently. But winning that first game is almost vital for that boost in RPI strength, because the competition level will go up if you win that first game.
Yeah, but what's crazy is that no game is more important right now than, it's stupid, but it's cliche, but it's true. Saturday we play a second exhibition game, and then we open up with UVU here on the following Friday. And in order to put ourselves in position for those games to mean something every time, you got to win. And so, yes, I totally agree. I mean, Harvard, Coach Amaker's done a great job there. They've basically kind of taken over the Ivy League, and they're really starting to recruit guys who have real options to go to even Power 5 schools, and they're getting guys to go there. But the way that the schedule lines up, I know that, maybe the names aren't quite as glitzy as we've had in the past, but, the way that this looks RPI-wise, if everything kind of goes the way it should, we should be in a pretty good place if we can take, advantage of winning the games we should.
Let's talk about conference play. You mentioned that earlier, and the biggest opponent in BYU's conference is Gonzaga. How's BYU closed that gap with them?
I'm telling you, man, they're doing a great job, and it seems like every day, I'm looking through my Twitter feed, and they just signed another guy. It's a challenge. They have a really strong hold on this conference and have had for a long time. And so for us coming in and challenging them, that's our challenge, is to win the league. For us to go up there last year and kind of break that, we had not won there yet, and to be able to break that and get our guys some confidence,
huge.
It was huge. But the interesting thing about our league is Gonzaga doesn't trip up very much, anywhere in the league, and so you almost have to be perfect in league because they're not gonna stumble too many times. They've kind of figured out their way of getting through this league. And what's difficult is that this league is a way better basketball league than people understand. RPI wise, I think in the last couple of years, it's actually been
top 10.
Yeah, it's been ranked higher than the Mountain West Conference, the league we came from. And so, when you go play at Pepperdine, and the team they have this year, You know, and then also you go play on the road at Portland, and winning on the road period in conference is tough. So in order to, what we need to do in conference in order to bridge that gap is we need to be pretty close to perfect. And in order to be pretty close to perfect, we got to execute really well. And we got to have everything kind of bounce our way with injuries. And, you know, we got to be playing right at the right times. And so that's really the challenge. And, you know, again, this year, preseason, you know, Gonzaga's picked to win it. And what we need to do is we need to figure out a way to win this league. And so we make no bones about it every year. That's our goal. We want to try to figure that out. And so in order to do that, I think we need to be more consistent throughout the year. We can't have those games where we have a drop-off. And what I'm confident about this year is I think we actually have a little more depth. So if we do have an injury here or there, another guy, as you guys kind of saw Saturday, could step in and help us out.
Yeah, you know, Jake Toolson, Nick Emery. I mean, guys, tons of guys making three-pointers. It's nice to see that early in the season, regardless if it's an exhibition game or not. You have a strong Twitter presence. Terry Naship has recently joined the Twitter machine and really.
I think Terry is the Twitter machine. Isn't he?
Oh, okay.
Man, he's so good. I like everything he does now. I guess it's a heart now, right? They changed it around. I love that he's on there, and I love, you know, I've said this before, but I think Terry might have one of the best basketball minds of anybody I've ever been around. Quincy and I call him the mad scientist. You know, he's so great. So for him to be able to be out there and to share his personality and kind of his glimpses of the game has been so great for us. And that stuff's really important. You know, at the end of the day, that's what teenage kids look at. And so when you're recruiting kids, you have to have a presence. And so Terry and I have gone back and forth for years on that, and he's so happy now that he has it. And it's fun to watch him do it.
What is the likelihood that Quincy Lewis will ever send a tweet? I know he's on Twitter. I don't know, maybe he has. And that Dave Rose will ever own a Twitter account.
I think that there's probably a better chance that Quincy tweets. I don't know that Coach will ever, unless his family maybe gives him one for Christmas that he doesn't know about. I don't foresee Coach really jumping in. But yeah, I've really actually tried my best to get Quincy to. I mean, but one day I actually had people call him out on Twitter. Maybe we could do that again.
Yeah.
If you're watching the show, maybe hit Coach Lewis up.
BYU Sports Nation unite.
Because the funny thing is, everybody thinks Quincy, you know, his persona is this real serious, you know, just dogmatic guy, and he's actually very, very funny.
Oh, he's got a great personality.
Great personality, great sense of humor. So I think we should challenge him to get out there. It's fun. You know, it's fun to interact with fans. Maybe not as fun after we get beat and you take some shots. I don't know if that ever happened to you.
Oh, no doubt. Most guys would.
But I think it's all done.
Delete their accounts during the season after a loss.
I think it's all done in the spirit of love, right? I think everybody just loves us so much that they want us to win. But and that's the one thing I told Terry to get ready for is there's some backlash at times, but for the most part, I mean, you know, it's positive and the interaction's really fun. So
absolutely,
I will say this: we have the best fans in the country. For us to go wherever we go to have that many people, we went to Spain and we had like 100 people there.
That's amazing.
Wow,
it was fun. So it was really cool.
Tim, great to have you in Studio B, man. We look forward to the next exhibition game Saturday night live on BYUtv, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.